Muy buenas, os habla Iván, un individuo ordinario, una empresa extraordinaria donde enviamos y asesoramos a estudiantes a equipos universitarios en Estados Unidos. Hoy es el episodio 7 y tenemos con nosotros a un invitado muy especial, Alec, Head Coach Esports de Ashland University. La entrevista la haremos en inglés, así que cualquier pregunta que queráis que traduzca, la escribís en el chat y ahí os podéis responder. Hey Alec, how's it going?
Hey.
Thank you very much for your time.
Of course, thank you for having me.
We're here, to talk about your program, also to create more transparency for international players, because this esports programs in US universities is something relatively new. In the US it's been for a very long time, but internationally it's still like a new thing that not many people are aware of. So this interview hopefully can add value to a lot of international players and students that want to know more about Ashland and how an esport program looks like, no?
Yeah, for sure.
So tell me a bit about the program. When was it first established?
So our Ashland University Esports program was first established in 2018. We are one of the first programs to establish and join NACE. NACE is the National Association of Collegiate Esports. It's one of the larger governing bodies in esports in the United States. We were the 8th school to join, and now I believe there's over 300, maybe 400 schools now that have joined since. So it has only grown so much since then.
Yeah. I've seen the article that Esports Foundry published on LinkedIn, and I saw like all the growth and all the continuing growth. You know, like it said that the esports programs on average are growing 10 to 15 students a year, and for some less and more, but it's growing pretty good. And tell me a bit more about Ashland. How many teams does it have?
Yeah, so we currently have we have 7 varsity teams. We have Overwatch, CS:GO, Fortnite, Hearthstone, Super Smash Brothers, Call of Duty, and Rocket League. So all these we have varsity teams for every one of these games, and then we also have an open team or a JV, like more or less a beginners team, a team that we help these players improve and get better and prepare them to be on the varsity roster. So NACE has different divisions that we play in, the Varsity Premier, which is the highest division. And then they also have an open division available for these more newer players or players that are still looking to improve before heading into varsity.
Nice. And as a team, what does the day-to-day look for those players in those 7 teams? Is the practice schedule the time for the varsity? Is it different than the JV? The varsity trains more than the JV? What is the?
Yeah. So the varsity will practice a little bit more, but just maybe like one day more or so. But the typical day-to-day for an esports player, especially at Ashland, most students take around 4 or 5 classes, sometimes 6 classes if you want to overload your schedule a little bit. But your morning will start out with your morning classes. The earliest they start is 8 a.m. And then for the most part, they'll have classes that run up until around 3 p.m. They'll take a lunch break around 11, 12, noon. And then our practices, depending on the game, start after 3 p.m. So, for example, Fortnite will practice from 3 to 5, and then we'll have Hearthstone come in from 5 to 7, and then Overwatch, CS:GO, some of these later night games will play from 8 to 10 or 7 to 9. Usually we have those teams practice later in the day so they can find scrimmages against other schools so they can help practice and prepare. So for our varsity team, they'll scrimmage and go against other varsity teams around our level. And then same thing for our open teams, our academy players. They'll go against some of these more newer teams and open teams so they can get good practice in.
Nice. And how do you assure your players a high quality practice? Before we were in a meeting, our first meeting, you mentioned that you also hire external coaching, experience coaching.
Yeah.
Is there other ways you maximize or you provide the best quality possible for your players? Because that's pretty impressive. Like investing and hiring like pro coaches and being able to
Yeah, especially for some of the team games and even games like Super Smash Bros. That are more individualized. We'll hire outside pro coaches that have experience in some of the pro leagues. Like, for example, we hired an Overwatch coach that had experience coaching like the London Spitfire and some other professional organizations. So they'd come in and watch us practice, watch us scrim. They'll review some footage with us, go over some things that we need to work on and improve. And then for some of our open teams, we'll have some of our varsity players come down and help and watch their games, kind of run them through some things that they learned from like the professional coach or that they've learned from playing in these like high elo matches and whatnot. And they'll come down and help and teach our open and academy players.
Nice. And for the players, how do you provide the balance, the right balance between the academics and the esports? How do you make sure they do good in both?
Yeah, for everything, for all games, we ask all players to focus on their academics before anything else. So there's an eligibility requirements as well. So you have to have above a 2.0 GPA to compete. And so as a program, our goal is to have an average of a 3.0 GPA. So we stay above that, and we want to make sure everyone is doing well in school to help prepare them for after they graduate and setting them up with a job and a career.
No, I usually student players. Do they go pro or work in the esports sector, or it's a bit of everything?
So yeah, it's a little bit of everything. It's just like any other sports, like soccer or football, basketball, whatever else. The players that go pro are very few, very, very, very few. And so for the most part, a lot of these students will find jobs in the esports sector. And what we do at Ashland and any other university is whatever they're majoring in, are the most popular program of study for our program is the computer science. We have a lot of computer science majors, so getting them into programming and in some of these tech companies that might have a relation to esports, maybe not, but showing them different avenues to go forth and to seek out other than professional if it does not work out for them.
Yeah, there's a big correlation between the students that obtain esports scholarships and what they study, like STEM careers. There's a big, and I've been saying like the states, like the esports programs universities are like investing a lot in STEM and esports, and that's pretty exciting because
there's a lot of overlap there.
Yeah, it's where the jobs of the future are, no? So and the current jobs that are the highest paid and the ones we need.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, nice. Okay, very good. And you mentioned about that you have to keep a 2.0 GPA. In order to compete. Do you, as an esports program, do you have is the minimum GPA you have to achieve a 2.0, or you set as a higher GPA? Because I know programs that say minimum 2.5 or minimum 2.0.
Yeah. The minimum is 2.0, but we set expectations for each player to try to achieve it like a 3.0. And any players that are below that 3.0, we'll assign them what we call study tables. At specific times throughout the week, 1 or 2 days a week, they'll come in as a group and study and work together on their classes, just making sure these players spend extra time on their academics as part of that balance that we were talking about. So that's for the players that are below that 3.0. We do this with freshmen or their new players as well that just come in to get them into good study habits and to set them up for success. But for our players that are a bit older or have above a 3.0, we expect them to kind of be able to handle it on their own at that point and keep doing what they've been doing since they've been doing well.
Great. And okay, academics and the esports side. Can you explain a bit more like the funnel you have between like the JV and the varsity? Because maybe not all players have that level to be in the varsity, but for those players also that have the potential. So what's how's it like for HIV players the funnel to go varsity, like in the resort program?
Yeah, so for our varsity teams, Overwatch, I think is a good example. Our varsity team for Overwatch, all of our players are Grandmaster level players. We have a few top 500 level players. And then for our JV and Open team, a lot of these players are hitting Diamond for the first time, around Platinum level. So they're just breaking out of the middle of the pack, getting out of Gold, hitting Platinum, getting to Diamond. And they need that little bit of help just to push into that Master and Grandmaster ranks, into the top high elo there. So I think that's a good example with Overwatch. Some other games are similar to that. But some games like Super Smash Bros. And Hearthstone are individualized. So it's you're not on a team per se. You're playing with yourself for the most part. So it's working on your own individual rank there and getting that up into a higher level so you can compete in some of these varsity tournaments.
So usually, like freshman students, do they usually start in the JV to get a grasp of how the eSport program works, what you expect from the players, or how does it? How would it work?
It kind of just depends on that player's skill whenever they come in. If we have a freshman that comes in for Overwatch and he's a Grandmaster, almost top 500, we can throw him into the varsity roster as long as there's a spot open there. But if we have a freshman that's coming in that's a Platinum to Diamond level, we'll throw him in with the Open team until he continues to improve and hits those higher ranks and feels more comfortable and just ready to play at that varsity level.
Okay, great. And do you have have a set of? Do you set responsibilities for players in the eSport program, like a set of things they have to follow if they want to be in the eSport program, like behavior-wise, or like a set of requirements?
Yeah, for sure. Behavior is a big thing especially for any of our online games against other schools. We always want to make sure that we're representing ourselves in the school in the best way possible. That means like no trash talking, none of the teabagging and any other the bad sportsmanlike behavior in online games. We want to make sure that we're always representing ourselves in the schools in the best way possible there. And then we set expectations. Always being on practice, being on time, being early if they can be. And just setting up expectations that way, making sure that we're responsible for ourselves and keeping our other players responsible as well. If somebody's not showing up to practice and they're not communicating, making sure that we're reaching out and trying to find out what's going on there and just making sure communication stays up.
Great. And when I was studying in the States also, I had to have like a certain percentage of attendance if I was a student athlete. Do you get that also in Ashland, or it's like more
yes,
chill?
So it depends on like their class or what their professors have written out in their syllabus. Some don't require attendance, and that's no problem there. But if they require attendance and they aren't showing up to class, I'll get an alert and I'll be able to reach out to the student and see what's going on. Why aren't they going to class? Have they been sick? Whatever else. But if there's no reason and they've just been skipping class, then they'll miss out on practice and could miss out on a game as well.
Nice. Okay. Very good. And for the so for example, like if they have a LAN event in another state or another university, let's say, or another venue, and they have to miss class, like our professors like comprehensible, and they because when I was there, like if I had a tournament in the middle of the week and I had to go to another state and I would miss like half a week, they will be comprehensible and they will make me catch up in a different way. Does it work the same in Ashland?
Yeah, it works the same here, especially for all the other sports as well. Whenever we have a tournament or an event that we're going to travel out to, we'll reach out to these professors as early as we can to let them know, and the players are also responsible for letting the professors know. And then they'll get that class excused, and then if they have like a test that day or some sort of assignment, they can get those done early.
Great. Yeah, that's a relief also for student athletes, and because also so for the university leagues and the tournaments, but like for example, what if there's a pro tournament that the players can represent Ashland? Would that be excused or that's a part or?
It would depend. If they want to go and just view the event, like if there's a professional like CS:GO event nearby that we want to go and watch, it would just depend on the professor there. Most likely that they'll approve that and that will be okay as long as we give them a good enough time of a heads up. Not the day before, but a few weeks ahead of time. It usually works out fine there.
Great, great. And talking more about specifics of the eSport program, what are the how many stations do you have? What's the hardware? Can you tell me about that's I think something the students would like to know.
Yeah, for sure. We have in our facility, we're located in the basement of the Ashland's library on campus. The library is right in the middle of campus as well, so it's a great spot. We have 25 computers set up there. We have 10 240 hertz monitors, and then the rest are 144 hertz. And then we also have inside the PCs, we have i7 7700K CPUs, and then NVIDIA 2070 Super GPUs. So it's not the highest level out there, but it's more than adequate enough to play these esports at a high level, getting those 240 frames to match up with the monitors there. It's a great spot to play. I'll go in there and play from time to time. But yeah, we have 25 PCs set up in there.
Great. And what are them? Do you provide any job opportunities for the students inside the eSport programs? Like, for example, if they have talent, if they experience in content creation or broadcasting or graphic design, do you have the work study? That you let's say opportunity to work for the program, so the costs lower down with work study. Is that an option? Okay.
We don't have it as a work study, but you'll get a scholarship for some of these positions. Okay. So you won't get paid in a stipend, but you'll get paid in the scholarship form instead. So this is for content creation, broadcast management, production, casting, anything to do to help improve our stream quality. And then we also can hire some alumni where if you graduate, because right now, for example, we have a CSGO coach that's just paid part-time for coaching our CSGO team. And he's a recent graduate, a recent former captain of our CSGO team. So he knows some of the players and he helps them improve and just helps keep practice organized and get them ready for game days.
Nice. And also the student involvement in the esports program, do you have a club esports, or is are a lot of students engaged in going to esports program and playing, or it's just for student athletes that represent the university? How is the esports program work?
We're open to anyone joining the program. We don't have a club per se, but for our open teams, we're open to any players coming in, even brand new players that just want to get into esports. So our program has a little bit over 50 members right now, and it's mostly because of the success of these open teams, getting more of campus involved. Because we'll have players that are interested in playing Rocket League, for example, but may not be a supersonic legend or champion rank. They might just be getting into the game. They might be silver, gold, or platinum or whatever, and want to continue to improve. So having these opportunities with these open teams is great. And we work with our rec center, our recreation center, where they have workouts and things like that set up. We'll do tournaments and we'll host a Super Smash Bros tournament on campus. That invites all students to come and play. We'll ask our varsity Smash players to go easy on them, not play their mains or whatever. But we try to get more of campus involved in some of these events and get them to see what esports tournaments look like.
Great. And when they go on summer vacation and stuff, or even I don't think they would have much of time, but internship opportunities with companies, because you mentioned that you had an international player, do they have the chance to also have internship opportunities if they look for them? Does the school provide enough for them to also work and get that working experience?
Yeah. So this Ashland has a department set out just for that. where they can find internship opportunities like within Ashland or nearby Ashland, but they may not be esports specific.
No.
But as far as esports internships go, there's a big organization called Immortals. They have a Valorant and League of Legends professional team. They're based in Michigan, and they're always looking to hire college students for their internships. So that's relatively close to us as an esports opportunity there. But other than that, Ashland will help students look for any internships opportunities that match their program of study.
That's great to know. And when you are recruiting a player and you're having that interview, besides when you see his VODs, the level he has, everything, like a bit of like you search him, but like when you have that interview, what are you looking for in a player? Like, how do you make sure, or how do you know that player will fit in your esport program? Because he can be the best player, but then you can have the interview and you're like, like,
yeah.
How do you?
The biggest. The biggest thing I look for is a positive attitude and the want to improve. And this mostly comes with young players or players that might be relatively new to games. It seems to die out when the more and more they play a game, but the want to improve and just the positive attitude. The tilting is one of the things that we want to completely avoid and make sure our players have a good mental and good mindset when playing, and always staying positive even in a losing situation. Those are things that we look for in players, those that can always keep looking forward and pushing forward there.
Nice. And throughout the year, like, how many, like, do you compete, how many times do you compete online or LAN events? Like, is it very busy throughout the year, or you have more months that are more focused and more months that are more focused for academics?
Yeah.
How does the year look?
Yeah, we compete in both fall and spring semester. We compete in NACE. All of our teams will compete in the NACE league there. The regular season will run for 8 weeks. So, for example, for this spring, the NACE season will start first week of February, and regular season will run for 8 weeks, and then we'll walk into playoffs after that. And then for some teams, they'll play in an additional league, like a second league. So for Overwatch, for example, we'll play in NACE. Those games are on Tuesdays. And then they'll play in Activision Blizzard's Homecoming League, which will have games on Fridays and Saturdays. So right now their practice schedule looks like Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, games on Tuesdays, and then games on Fridays, Saturdays, once those start in February. But yeah, we compete in both fall and spring. And for LAN events, Ashland is located an hour from Columbus and an hour from Cleveland. So we've seen LAN events hosted in both cities there that we've gone to and competed. So it kind of just depends on when those are hosted and when those come up. And we'll go and compete. We've had some teams travel out pretty far too. We sent our Fortnite team to DreamHack Atlanta last fall semester, and that was a $100,000 prize pool event there. So we were able to send 7 Fortnite players out. Unfortunately, they did not win any money there, but they're going against some of the best players in the world there. So it was a fun opportunity to get them all out there to compete. And we always look for events like that to send our teams out to.
Nice. Like, you have Atlanta, good level there. Now, it's very good that you make, like, you portray Ashland, around the US, because it's one of the top programs, from my opinion, from what I saw. Like, you make a very good job nationally.
Thank you.
So yeah. And also, what is the how would you describe the recruitment process so then you have the interview with the player, see if it's a good fit. What would be the next step, like the tryout? How you describe that? I know it depends a bit depending on the video game, but like.
Yeah, it depends on the game there. But yeah, for the most part, the player will reach out to me, or I'll reach out to the player. We'll have that interview. I'll get to know the player. And then I'll introduce them to the team. I'll get them invited to our Discord server. I'll have them hop into a call where they'll either watch one of our practices or join one of our practices, and kind of just run through the day as if they were a national player. They'll maybe join us in the scrim or watch, or get to know some of the players, get to play with them for a bit, and then we can see how they mesh with the team. Do personalities match there? Does maybe if there's like an ego colliding there, something like that? We want to make sure that they work well with our teams. So after that, introducing them to the players and everything, seeing how it went with our players, asking them for feedback. Hey, what did you think about this recruit? Do you see him as a good teammate coming forward? And then after that, and then we'll also ask the recruit how they felt about the team. Did you like playing with them, and whatnot? So as long as everything goes well from there, then we'll run through the application process online with Ashland, submitting all the required forms and everything like that, running through the internationals office there, and making sure everything is good to go. And then after that, then we can talk about the scholarship opportunity available, and then get you accepted into Ashland and get you going.
Great. And objectives for 2023 for Ashland Esports?
There's a whole lot. For most of our teams, it's I want to see like Overwatch, for example, making it far into playoffs, because lately we've qualified for playoffs but would lose in like the first or second round. So I want to see them continue to improve and go past that. So that's like a little bit of our competition goals for most of our teams. They're in the habit of qualifying for playoffs but can't make it past that first or second round there. Academic goals, we hit just over a 3.0 GPA, so I want to see them get a bit higher. I want to see the entire program hit around 3.1, 3.2. I want to see that continue to improve. And then also growth. Right now we're at around 50 members. I want to see us get to 55, 60. I want to continue adding more and more teams here, maybe adding an additional game like Valorant or something like that later down the road. So
great. And the esports, the college esports ecosystem, how do you view it in the coming years? Like, what are your predictions?
Yeah. I predicted it's going to just continue to improve and to grow. We see more and more schools getting involved, and we're seeing more and more big state schools getting involved too. Schools that have a lot of funding and budget available. Seeing them recruit some very high level teams, and just seeing the overall competition improve as well. It's exciting to see, and I think it's only going to go up from here. Nice.
Well, Alec, from my part, that was all. This question, I think, like with this interview, then we're gonna post this on our social media channels. We're gonna do some real stuff. Like, for sure, you added value to the players, and thank you very much for your time. And
of course,
and we stay in touch. Is there anything else you want to say about Ashland before we finish?
No, for the most part, you're welcome to visit our Ashland website. It's just ashland.edu/esports. There's plenty of information about our program there. You can also request more information and send in a survey if you're interested. So I highly recommend checking that out, and then you can also reach out to me through there as well.
Thanks, Alec, for your time.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.